Hey everyone, welcome to the next in our VCO series. My name's Diana Sinton. I'm a project manager with iGuide, and these VCOs or virtual consulting offices are sessions that we hold almost weekly to try to introduce you to new topics associated with geospatial technologies and high performance computing and many of the areas that iGuide focuses its research activities. Today, we're going to hear from one of the teams that participated in our 2025-26 Spatial AI Challenge. And we will turn this over to them soon. But just as a reminder, this is a regular Zoom meeting, so you have control over your own microphones. And there will be time at the end for questions and answers. We're going to start in just another minute while people continue to log on. I've put the slide up here to remind you of two of our other upcoming VCOs. Starting next week, we're going to be hearing from teams from our 2026 summer school. So we have usually our sessions are on Wednesdays, and indeed next Wednesday we have Team 4 talking about their work looking at wildlife habitat through GeoAI. Specifically, they were looking at beavers. And then we have one the very next day, Thursday, August 27th, which is not one of our usual days to have one, but we're excited to hear from our summer school Team 5 when they're going to be looking at the way they were using GeoAI to look at human mobility patterns and their exposure to urban heat. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and invite our presenters today to share theirs. Excellent. We've got the screen showing, and at this point, people may continue to join this presentation, but at this point, I would like to introduce our team, and I think we're going to be hearing from several of the speakers today, and I'll turn it over to the group. Thanks very much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. Can we start, Diana? Is that okay? So thank you all for being here today. My name is Jessica. I'm here with Rafael and Vinicius. We are the third place winner of this 2026 iGuide Spatial Challenge. And today we will present to you our work, Spatial AI for Microscale Urban Accessibility Modeling. This is a shortened version of our original title, original work. We also have Dr. Wang, Sisi, but she's unfortunately not here today with us. So, Rafa, can you please go ahead? Okay, so let's start with a simple question. Both places are crowned every day. I guess you might know.
I'm sorry, I'm having some issues here.
Okay.
I don't know how to hide it.
No, that's fine.
That's
It's
fine? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, please go on.
Okay, so again, two places are crowned every day. The one on your left, I think you might know it, Times Square in New York City. And the one on your right, it's a very known place by Brazilians, 25 de Março in São Paulo City. So both places are crowned every day, but do they function in the same way? That's the question that we were wondering in the beginning of this work. And probably not. Movement alone cannot explain how markets operate in New York City and in Brazil too. So that was the question that we were asking ourselves in the beginning of this work. Rafa, can you please go ahead? So we came up with this research question. Can human mobility reveal recurrent market access? We wanted to go beyond visit volume. So, in other words, can mobility reveal an underlying marketing structure instead of simply showing us visiting volume, where people go? So this is our research questions for this work. This is our idea. So visit volume cannot alone describe us how people pass through movement. So we want to go to a large scale mobility data. If this one could reveal hidden access structure, our goal is to infer this hidden structure directly from aggregated mobility data. And this is our condition. So instead of measuring just visit volumes, we describe mobility through 7 dimensions. And this is our 7 dimensions. So we went beyond this mobility visitors. So these are our 7 dimensions for this work: movement scale, visitor volumes, visitor reach, so unique visitors for a place, new visitors, repeated visitors, dwell time, and temporal stability. Okay, so these 7 dimensions, we analyzed them, and then we went to a shared behavioral structure. And this shared behavioral structure showed us the dominance covariance dimension of all these indicators. And then we could go ahead and get to the index, our index. So this work has a methodological contribution. We went to these 7 dimensions to an index, a marketing index, and we can see hidden behaviors that if we were just looking for visit volumes, maybe it wasn't observable. So we went to the 7 dimensions and we could see some behaviors that we couldn't.
Yeah, that's it indeed. And reinforcing the idea again, our goal here was to move beyond visit volume, right? And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the workflow step by step. So we started with almost 388,000 Brazilian census tract. And for each census tract, we used the 7 mobility indicators Jessica just described. Here we have an important point. We analyzed places, not individual people, or devices like mobiles, for example. So we connected these indicators to census tract geometries from the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics and VERS nighttime lights, which we also use it as an external proxy of or indirect indicator of local economic intensity or local activity, for example, right? So next, we used principal component analysis, like Jessica said, to find the main shared pattern across the indicators. We then checked if the stored marked infrastructure index, I prefer to call it mobility-based marked infrastructure index, right? So we analyzed this pattern, right? And the next step, we then asked if this mobility structure changed across the space. And at the focal locations, local principal component analysis summarized neighborhoods of nearest tracts, and similar local profiles formed 4 different regime solutions. We used Moron's eye to test if the similar marked infrastructure index values were closer to each other, and geographically weighted PCA and different neighborhood size were used as robustness checks as well. So we compared the regimes with nighttime lights. We also tested if the marked infrastructure index and the regimes added information beyond visit volume again. And finally, we realized that the census tract can hide internal variation. And in the city of São Paulo and metropolitan region, we distributed the marketing infrastructure index of each represented tract to 100-meter grid using verse nighttime light-based weights. It's important. So this created one complete workflow from mobility data to the marketing infrastructure index, spatial regions, external evidence, and fine-scale reconstruction. It runs from a shared assets with no hidden off notebook steps. Later, I will present the notebook if it's possible, right? You can run it in using a guide platform. It's very easy to run, and you can do it in about 25 minutes. It's pretty fast. Now I'm going to focus on our 4 main results, okay? First, the indicators were not separated by signals. The first principal component explained more than 60% of the total variation. And this is important because this means that the 7 indicators shared one clear underlying pattern, right? And what formed this pattern? Temporal stability, the 2 dimensions of temporal stability had the largest contribution. It was followed by new visitors, repeat visitors, unique visitors, and visit volume. Dwell time, in other hand, moved in different direction. The pattern here was not just another measure of visit volume. It correlated 0.94 with the stored marketing infrastructure index, right? And the marketing infrastructure index was also clearly spatial. More on site was 0.455 with a significant p-value. And local analysis revealed the 4 mobility regimes I just presented. And from constrained and stable access to more balanced and recurring access. These are behavioral profiles, not administrative regions or rankings. Okay, this is important also. And geographically weighted PCA produce a very similar local PC1, the first PC score, with a correlation of 0.96. Next, we asked if the marketing infrastructure index added information beyond visit volume. And on held out versus nighttime light data, R squared increased. The improvement was modest, but positive, and it was a very good sign, right? And in the city of São Paulo and metropolitan region, the 100-meter reconstruction showed variation hidden by census tract, like Jessica said in the beginning of this presentation. The first map shows the marketing infrastructure index, mobility-based marketing infrastructure index plotted, and the second one shows the 100-meter reconstruction with the small squares in yellow and green showing where one tract average may hide more concentrated internal patterns, right? The main contribution here is practical, but when we are talking about business, marketing is also methodological. Mobility data can help companies compare locations beyond visit volume and help governments understand where local access is stable, weak, or fragmented. And the framework, another very important point, the framework does not describe where to invest. It provides a richer spatial diagnosis for location assessment and place-based economic planning. And that's it. Now I'll hand back to Jessica.
Okay, so why our work is useful? Okay. Our framework has a practical applications. It can support retail location decision with marketing. So we can support location beyond a footfall. We can go ahead with why people and how much time they spend in a place. But as Rafael was saying, our framework, it's not something that you can choose to invest in Brazil. You can see where people go and if you have some potential in a place. It can support also urban planning and regional development by revealing hidden accessibility patterns and with public policies, for example. Rafa, please go ahead. So what changed? In an old traditional methodological framework, we would have visitor volume, and we could say where people go. And with our framework, we can see a market infrastructure and how recurrent local access is organized, not just where people go. And this spatial AI can now tell us how local access is organized. That is the most important thing in our work. Please go ahead, Rafa. So that's it. This is our final presentation, but if we can now go ahead and go through the code, it would be interesting. I don't know if you can go.
Yeah.
Sure, we're happy to see
Can
things
I?
that are on the platform. Yes.
Okay, that's great.
You can
Let's
choose
run it.
you can choose whether you want to try to run something, which is, running a live demo is always
No, I will
pretty-
just show. Yeah, I will just show. I ran it a few minutes ago, and now I'm going to only to show. Can you
Perfect.
see my screen?
Yes.
The iGuide platform?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's great. Let me show you. This is the notebook. Here you can find the framework, the old title. Jessica explained that we changed it, right? A few introduction, and here, clicking here in Run this notebook, you will be redirected for this Jupyter Lab page. It's already done here just to facilitate and to be faster, right? But this is the notebook, the final version of the notebook. Here you can see later, if possible, right? I would like to show the GitHub project, but here the first part of this notebook shows the link of the GitHub project, and there are a lot of very interesting parts. I invited everyone here to read and to just check the notebook. We start showing why this notebook matters. We have some evidence snapshots, challenge alignment. We have here also the conceptual pipeline I just presented. I just showed the stage step by step, the notebook roadmap, the introduction, talking about the context, talking about the real world problem and marketing problem also. I don't remember if Jessica said, but marketing is our field of studies. So for this reason, we talk a lot about marketing, but of course, this is important not only for marketing, but also for public policy, urban development, and So here in the section 2, we show and input the data sets. We have 3 data sets here, but here you can see only 2 because the first one is merging the shape files from Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics and the mobility indicators and mobility-based marketing infrastructure as well. And here the nighttime lights, which we use it as a external proxy of local activity. So let me move to the section 3. Here we started the tests, and here you can see the analysis and the more details about the indicators and the numbers, right? Here is the correlation structure. Here you can see the PCs we obtained when we ran the principal component analysis. Here you can see the first one explained more than 60% of the total variation, right? Here, I think I presented it. Yeah, you already know this graph I just presented. And here you can see another checks, another robustness checks, another results, and for each graph or figure, you can see the results and the
Explanation.
the explanation. Thank you very much. So in section 4, we started with the spatial region discovery. So here, I think the most interesting part here is the map. Let me show you. You already saw it in the presentation. We just did. Here we have some sensitivity of local PCA. We use the geographically weighted PCA here. Let me show you the map again. It's here with the 4 different region solutions plotted in map of Brazil, right? And in the section 5, we did the external validation with the verse nighttime lights. Here we have some interesting results and interpretation. And here in the section 6, this is very interesting. This is the regime-specific mobility response profiles. Here you can see the predicted nighttime lights intensity and mobility intensity. You can see the 4 different regime solutions plotted here, right? And in the section 6, we present the multi-scale reconstruction, which is the high point of this study, right? Let me show you the part of maps. This is the same map that you saw in the presentation, but showing the city of São Paulo and metropolitan region. But it's not good to see because there are a lot of different colors. And here is the high zoom comparison between the Martin infrastructure index plotted and the 100 million mass preserving reconstruction, right? You already saw in the presentation we just did. Another local view of most fragment track, a different kind of visualization. And section 7, we have the key takeaways, limitation, final conclusion, and of course, the reference that we used in the project, right? So besides that, we have this GitHub project with the data dictionary. We use it. This is the same Jupyter Lab notebook. This one, okay? So you can find here. We have a README with the whole project here also. And you can see the data sources, the team members, and a short bio here. And here is the preprint paper. You can find it. I think we show it here in this QR code. You can see the iGuide platform notebook, GitHub notebook, GitHub project, and iGuide project is here. GitHub project is in this one, and the paper, the preprint paper, is here. You can download. We have the. In fact, we are working in the next version, the final version of publication, but here you can find a lot of details, right? It's more detailed than we just presented. Let me stop the sharing, and that's it.
I'm really grateful that I've been able to hear this explanation. This is the second time I've had a chance to hear you describe your work, and the way you're sharing it is making more and more sense to me. We have some time for discussion. Any questions right now from anyone in the audience? Feel free to put a question for any of our speakers in the chat space. And then you're also welcome to unmute your microphone if you'd like to ask a live question orally. While we wait for someone to ask a question, could either of you tell me, I'm curious to know, with the techniques that you've used and these approaches to answering these marketing questions with the aid of a little bit of machine learning like this, how do you think, I'm not sure what, and you're both graduate student finishing up graduate school and going on to work. What do you think? How do you think that these types of questions are being asked and answered in places where you don't necessarily have the opportunity to use machine learning tools? So I'm always curious about how we can do some knowledge transfer and some work between academic audiences and practices and workflows and be able to transfer them over to the commercial side or the practitioner side. How do you see yourselves doing that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In fact, let me check one thing before I start. You mean about this kind of problem?
Yeah, this type of problem, but not just the type of problem, like the approach that would use AI.
Okay.
Or like the ability to look at large data sets and use high performance computing in, machine learning in one way or another.
Yeah. In fact, I am part of a research group, which Professor Brei here is also my advisor, and he's leader of the research group at my university. My university focuses on marketing and consumption, and in fact, we work with this questions every day, and we are currently developing and working on hardly on a Atlas of Opportunity, which is a data-driven tool designed to help entrepreneurs identify the most promising locations, the best locations for opening a new business or expanding an existing one, using this kind of advanced analytics to support location-based decision making. Maybe I would like to know if Professor Brei would like to share a little bit more about this project, and maybe also I'm pretty sure that also it will help to answer this question.
Great. Yes, please.
Thank you, Rafa. Thank you, Diana, for your question. We were lucky in this iGuide edition. We had 2 projects related to the big umbrella project that we have in Brazil, the Atlas of Opportunities, where we try to create a recommender system to help entrepreneurs who don't have resources or data science knowledge to decide where and when to open a new business. So trying to answer your question, Diane, which is a great question, we think that initiatives like the iGuide initiative are great because they make entrepreneurs' life so much easier because of the notebooks, the open data, the open science approach, especially, is something that we congratulate you a lot because of this way of seeing science and translating it to the general public. We think that this kind of initiative is extremely useful to democratize the knowledge that sometimes is just inside the universities, and most of entrepreneurs and public policy people, sometimes they don't have access to it because it's something that is very limited to graduate school, to PhD courses. Right. And so I think this kind of initiative, like this open competition that you make mandatory to expose Jupyter notebooks data that we have used and translate it in the most fluent and easy way to the general public. I think this is the way that we are trying to handle and to communicate with practitioners. I think this, so when we talk to entrepreneurs and when we try to improve the project that we are developing, we use this kind of initiative and approach using Jupyter Notebooks Colab, Jupyter Notebooks on Colab, and with this easiness of explanation that Rafa just mentioned. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think that you've just described this role that ultimately the type of research questions that are being asked and answers at the university level, uh, the research, universities are going to be the places that have the resources to support and have the people with the time and perspectives to be able to ask and answer these questions. But with your Atlas of Opportunity, what you're doing there is kind of serving ultimately as a broker in between the research questions, the high performance computing that's going to be asked, understanding the types of questions that the practitioners, the entrepreneurs want to ask, but are, we're never going to turn over to every entrepreneur a Jupyter notebook. There needs to be some intermediary group that is that's really supporting this two-way exchange of information. And if you're asking questions and answering them, if you're asking the questions that the entrepreneurs don't care about, then it's not going to be useful in the long run either. So they're always, we appreciate the way that you're asking questions specifically with the entrepreneur's needs in mind, with the
Right.
several projects that you've been working with.
Yeah. Well, we see through the work of these great students like Jazz and Rafa and Jayani who have presented earlier. So this is the kind of work that usually the big companies, they have money to pay for consultancy and to pay for marketing research.
Right.
But usually small entrepreneurs and people who lack the resource, monetary and data science knowledge, they don't have sometimes a skill to develop this kind of a more data-driven or scientific approach to handle new decision making with new business development. So this is what we are trying to do in our lab.
Yeah, that's great. So if you were to extend this, and this question is going back to the students here, if you were to extend this, if you had another 6 months to work on this with, again, the support and of resources, what's the next question that you would ask, given what you've uncovered and understood from this first one? What would you want to know more about? What would you ask next?
Yeah, if actually we have a lot to do in this first question yet, so our plan is to advance in the same research, but adding some marketing variables, because for example, we use the nighttime lights as a proxy of local intensity, but
Right.
it's just it is a proxy. We are thinking in some ideas and some ways to improve this research, adding this real world data for generate real world outcomes, and outcomes that entrepreneurs and public policymakers in general can use with more, I don't know how to say it, but with more careful, and like I said, with real data,
Like adding consumption data, for example.
Yeah.
Something that we were asking, like, okay, so we have this data or mobility data, and we know how local access are functioning, but what people buy there, like what they are looking for. It's just for work, it's a consumption, it's just like marketing, or it's something, I don't know. So maybe adding some consumption data would help us like to understand what people are doing there.
And maybe some mobility flows, because now we are using only the visitation metrics for each census tract, and now we know the hidden spots inside the census tract, but we don't know the flow inside this 100-meter grids, So this is something I'm pretty sure that adding this lay of the flow of mobility would improve the research.
Okay. Sounds like definitely things that will keep you busy in the coming months.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Or any other thing about the research that the team would like to share? I'm going to put the, or maybe you'd be faster at it than I would. If you could put the link to, or anything about the Atlas of Opportunity, put the link into the chat. That's something that
if Rafa or Jess can put the link, I would appreciate it, because I'm not at my office laptop. So then, if I may, so we are developing the Atlas of Opportunities to be a multilingual and multi-country platform. If anyone in the audience would be interested on knowing more about the project, be a collaborator, or maybe extend the Atlas to different countries. So we started with a small edition in Australia, Southern Australia, together with MIT. Then we also had one very small version on Rochester, US. And then we moved it to Brazil, and which is by far the biggest in terms of geography, scale, and geographical levels, because we have 4 geographical levels. But we are trying to develop it as open science as possible. So if anyone is interested on expanding the Atlas to other regions in the world, or even collaborate in Brazil, we would be very happy to chat, to discuss possible collaborations. So
that's great. Yeah.
We are trying to do open science with GeoAI. So I believe that people in the audience could be also, other people could be interested. We
That's right.
we would be very happy to chat.
That I'm glad that we can share that. And the link to the Atlas that Professor Brei was just sharing is there in the chat.
We will change the domain soon. It's still in the university cloud, so it's a big name, but we just bought a shorter URL. But anyway, this will continue to work. So if anyone is interested, would be very happy to share our experience and to collaborate.
Yeah, we'll be sharing that further. I know that iGuide is going to be talking about these projects in its September newsletter too. So we'll make sure that we have the link to share about the Atlas then.
Our team would like to say a big thank you for iGuide, for you, Diana, and for everything that you have been doing to allow these works of Jessica, Rafa, and Jenny, and the other team, Sisi as well, and this team, to make it possible. Thank you all very much for iGuide initiative.
Well, you're welcome. And this is like the best example of how a spatial AI challenge can work to encourage teams. You know, if you have the access to some computing workflows and computing power, what kind of things can you ask and answer? So,
right.
And we really appreciate and this is why the platform is really nice too. I'm glad I think probably the link to your GitHub is somewhere linked in your notebook as well. But yes. Being able to continue to provide the platform as a place where people can share their open science practices, and all of the teams that won that were recognized during the challenge this year had did exceptionally well at documenting in their notebooks how they were using the models and their data sets. And so I'd encourage those of you wanting to look to see what kind of award-winning level types of documentation, take a look at some of the notebooks from our Spatial AI Challenge this year in particular. It really shows some of the important parts of open science that we don't often do as well at, and that's describing and documenting things that other future people will be able to use the resources more. All right, if there are no other questions from the audience, I want to thank our team again from Brazil presenting about their Spatial AI Challenge project. All of our VCOs are recorded, and after the files are processed and cleaned up just a little bit, they will be available on the iGuide website. Please take a look at the VCO schedules coming up. We have weekly ones coming up over the next 6, 7, 8 weeks. Lots of exciting things happening, and you'll get to hear more terrific ways that teams of graduate students were able to use the platform to ask and answer some really exciting iGuide focused questions. So all of our summer school teams will be presenting. So thanks everyone very much, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.